we sort of broke out like 4 different categories of, for us, what we believe make films on the digital landscape viral. And we said, okay, case number 1, fame and experts, right? So, you know, it's like let me get a celebrity in my digital short and everybody will watch it, right? Or let me get an expert. Let me get like Zidane to be kicking a soccer ball around and schooling some kid and then scoring a goal like it's nobody's business. Or David Beckham to kick a soccer ball into a basketball hoop. Or let me get like some master chef to like do some crazy, you know. And you know, it's interesting, as a production company here at Catalyst, and we've been producing for 10 years, 12 years. So for 12 years, we've been producing content, and it's funny, it doesn't matter what the medium is, right? Somebody walks in to our office to pitch an idea, and like, I got a great TV show, right? So it's Charlie Sheen, and Charlie Sheen is going to be, you know, interacting with all these babes, and it's like basically like Flavor of Love, but with Charlie Sheen. And we're like, okay, do you have Charlie Sheen? He's like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, do you know Charlie Sheen? No. Do you know somebody that knows Charlie Sheen? No. And it's like, so you don't have Charlie Sheen, and therefore you don't have a show. Because I'm telling you right now, you can have the greatest idea in the world, but you're an unproven, you know, talent. You know, you're a fresh young producer. Why is Charlie Sheen doing a show with you? Yeah, of course, you know, he can get 3 million Twitter followers in a minute, but like, why is he doing it with you? And I'm not looking to crush the dream, because we always dream bigger. But what I'm saying is, let's just take this off the table for a second, and let's say we don't have that famous person or that expert or whatever that is. Let's say that's an added bonus. If we get that, great, and it's going to help our virality because they have a built-in audience online, and they'll be able to help push our content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's take that off the table. Humor. I sort of put humor, music's not on here, but I put humor and music in the same category. We all know that if something's really funny, it becomes very shareable. And that's what we're really talking about, is shareability, right? It's like, when I receive something online, how motivated am I to share it with someone else? And that is your share frequency of any given piece of content that you have, right? And so we want that equation, we want that algorithm, that propensity to share to be as high as possible. And humor does that. It's been happening forever. Like, you got a great joke, you tell a great joke, and that guy hears the joke and he remembers the joke, and he's like, all right, I'm going to tell my friend that joke, and awesome, and then that joke gets spread around, and the next thing you know, you got somebody telling you the joke that you made up, right? And that's viral, right? But so that creates virality, and it creates a high share frequency. So let's assume that we're all either funny people, or we can make a really amazing song, because songs are viral as well. You hear a great song, you want to share it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So elements like that, and actually this thing should be labeled elements, because it'd be like humor, it'd be music, it'd be, you know, those type of things. Those create virality. But I want to take both of those things off the table and focus on 2 things that nobody really dissects, nobody really thinks about, and nobody really sort of like when ideas come in our door. These are the 2 things that don't get talked about, but these are 2 things that create massive virality, and they turn stories into tales. And I say tales very specifically, and I'm not saying tales T-A-L-E-S, I'm saying T-A-I-L-S. Because if you can have a piece of content, and we call it the long tail of content, if you have a piece of content that you can put out into the marketplace, and that content in and of itself creates a conversation that creates more content, that creates a reaction to that content, that creates a reaction to that content, and it's a discussion, it's a conversation through a medium that is video, through a medium that is talk, or through a medium that is music. That is the long tail of a story. And that's the thing that creates viral videos. A virus is something that enters in and starts replicating itself over and over and again and again and again and again, and it takes over one's capacity to fight it, right? That's what a great story told in the digital medium will do. It will create that conversation and that push and pull, and it'll turn a story into a tale. And that's what we want to try to do with the videos that we're going to create out of here this weekend. So There are two things that I would say do that. This is the wrong category. All right, with that, thrash. I want to talk about this word abstractly, and then I'm going to get really specific about it. So I look at content, and I'm always looking for thrash. When we're trying to come up with an idea for somebody that we're working with, it's a very important word to us. If you think about a boat in the water and it's sitting still, if it's not making waves, you're not moving anywhere, right? So I want to make waves with the content that I put out, because that wave is what's going to help create the long tail, and it's a wave of conversation. Now, what creates thrash? So we go a little bit deeper even yet. And I think it's one thing. I think it's polarity. So if I look at videos online and I go, oh, God, maybe they don't have a celebrity, or maybe they're not that funny, but man, they just travel and travel and travel. One of the things that they do is they generally make a statement or they ask a question that creates polarity, right? So think about politics for a quick second, right? And by the way, I don't want to create a bunch of political videos out of this at all, but let's just think about like politics, right? When Barack Obama gives a State of the Union address, right? And he makes these like definitive statements about where the country needs to go and what it's going to be. You've got about 50% of the United States vehemently agreeing with Barack Obama, right? And you've got about that other 50% over here vehemently disagreeing with Barack Obama. And that creates a conversation, and it creates a discussion, and it creates auto-tune the news, and it creates somebody mashing that video up and turning it into something else. And it turns a story into a tale. It takes a single media unit and actually gives it a life. It gives it a conversation. And it bridges onto these social networks, and all of a sudden Twitter's punching up about it, and Facebook's punching up about it. I saw this thing that this guy Deb Roy was doing at TED this year, and he was talking about how not only that, it's bouncing from television onto social media, from social media back to television, and you start creating this movement. I saw a video the other day, which is sort of abstract and weird, and I don't know why I'm saying it, but it was these two twins, and they were like babies, and they were talking to each other in their own weird language, and I'm a twin, so I related to it, and I posted it up on Twitter, and the next morning I woke up, and it's on Good Morning America, right? These media platforms, they talk to each other, and we got to respect that, and by respecting that, we need to create content that inspires polarity or inspires a conversation, maybe a disagreement, maybe somebody who's vehemently pushing back from the other side, so that it can create a conversation and create that long tail, right? Now, I want to be aware, I want to be hyper-aware of saying stuff just to say it and get a reaction is not polarity. If I'm standing over here and everybody's standing over there, I'm going to get a really short, fast burst, right? And we see a lot of bloggers that do this. They'll just say something inane for the sake of saying something. It's like shock jock stuff. And great shock jocks like Howard Stern say something with a kernel of truth in it, right? He says something that creates a conversation so he can have some people over here. But it's like shock jock blogging is what I call it, where somebody just says something absurd, and they get a big flash wave on this side, and then the boat gets submerged, right? We want our boats to be steady. We want to have a little wave on this side and a wave to counter it on this side. And we want to ride that wave as long as we can. And that's why we call it thrash. Some other examples of thrash. I want to just sort of like breath back into that old media and go, wait a second, well, maybe that's what's been making media work all along. I was thinking about Inception, and we're going to be lucky enough, I think, in a little bit, the DP, who just won the Academy Award for Inception, Wally Pfister, is going to be here. He's going to talk a little bit about our productions and how we can elevate the value of the experience, the film experience, from the point of view of a DP. But I want to talk about that movie. At the end of who here saw Inception? Most of the people here, right? It was maybe my favorite movie of the year. But when that top is spinning at the end, right? And they left it spinning. Why did they leave it spinning? You could have had the top drop, and it would have said something very definitive. But leaving the top spinning made you walk out of the theater and go, wait, was he dreaming or was that real? And your friend was standing over here going, dude, he was dreaming. And your other friend's standing here going, no, 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 it was real, man. The top was spinning. Like, it was real. That meant it was real. And it meant it was visceral. And that discussion happened. Now, who's right or wrong? I don't care. I want the discussion. And that discussion leaves the theater, and people have whole conversations about it. The Sixth Sense, another great example, right? You leave the theater, and it's like, whoa, he was dead the whole Oh, sorry if you haven't seen it. So we leave the theater, right? And we're like, wait a second, what about that moment and this moment and that moment? It's like, no, 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 no. The kid, no, 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 the kid never looked at him. And no, 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 the kid, he did it and the way he related to him. And you had that conversation that came out the other end. That's polarity. So what did Bill Murray whisper in Scarlett Johansson's ear at the end of Lost in Translation? I don't know, but I desperately want to. And I think I might know, and I might have a hypothesis, and my other friend might have another one. That's polarity. That's thrash. It doesn't have to be some absurd statement. It just needs to be something that inspires conversation, whether that's a question or a statement or just, sometimes it can be a statement on the edge of a question. Maybe you already have an opinion about it as a filmmaker and you want to make a statement, but frame it as a question. That's biased documentarian filmmaking. I mean, you look at any of these sort of documentaries that come out now, most of them have a level of bias, but they try to pose it as a question to seem like they're unbiased. Or you listen to Anderson Cooper on the news, and he's like posing questions, but he's very clearly not happy with the president of Syria, right? And he's like, hey, why would he say? So this is one of the things that I want to think about at the seed of every single idea that we come up. What's the conversation? How are we going to create a conversation? It's one of the capacities of our medium. We better be doing it, right? The last thing is personalization. This is probably the toughest thing to do, and it's a thing that we're not going to figure out today all the way, or this weekend we're not going to figure out all the way, but I want it to be a part of our ideas, and I want it to be a part of the content that we create.